Welcome to chapter 32 of the book of Numbers. Reuben and Gad claim their land. What is that all about? And there was a multitude of cattle to the sons of Reuben and to the sons of Gad. And exceedingly, I have much instead of great. Poly is many. So great is, it could be great, but I actually, to be more accurate, I think much is better. Much multitude, much in multitude. So they have a lot of people, and they saw the place of Iazir and the place of Gilead, and the place was a place of cattle. And so here they are, as Gilead is up here, and it's a very fertile area today as part of the country of Jordan, as all down here. And I'm not exactly sure where the boundary of Syria comes in here to play in here in the Golan Heights. I think that's up further north. And the sons of Reuven coming forward, and the sons of Gad said to Moses and to Eleazar the priest and to the rulers of the congregation, synagogues is the derivative of synagogue, saying, whenever this lego, L-E-G-O, has something to do with speech, they said, Ataroth and Devon and Iazir and Namvron and Eshivon and Eleali and Sevamah and Nevav and Vayan. All these, the land which the Lord delivered up before the sons of Israel, and that was in the last chapter, and the Midianites. It is a land for grazing cattle. And your servants subsist on cattle. Now they also went by, and I believe they defeated others of the other people there, took over a lot of their land. And so when that happened, all the cattle that they had liked it there on that side of the Jordan. And so the people of Gad and Reuben decided, well, this is good here. Maybe we should just take this land, even though God wanted them to go in to the land of Canaan. And they said, if we find favor before you, give this land to your servants for a possession, and do not cause us to pass over the Jordan. So we'll just stay here. And Moses said to the sons of Gad and to the sons of Reuben, well, shall your brethren go into the war, and you sit here? And why do you turn aside the thoughts of the sons of Israel to not pass over into the land which the Lord gives to them? So the rulers there, why are you telling the people just to stay here and not to do what the Lord is giving them? Did not your fathers do thus when I sent them from out of Kadesh Barnea to study the land? That was 40 years earlier when they were close to the land, and then these men from every tribe were sent up to spy out Canaan, and they came back. And it says, and they ascended the ravine of the cluster, and studied the land, and separated the heart of the sons of Israel, so as to not enter into the land which the Lord gave to them. They put fear into the hearts of the sons of Israel, being afraid of these people, the Canaanites, who they described as being giants and walled cities and so forth. So these people, the Israel, didn't want to go in, and so now Moses is saying the sons of Gad and Reuben are doing the same thing by not wanting to go in and take the land. And he continues and he says, And the Lord was provoked to anger and rage in that day, and swore by an oath, saying, Shall these men see the ones ascending from Egypt? And I taken out the men. The ones ascend, shall these men see the men ascending from Egypt, from 20 years old and up, having knowledge of good and the bad? Shall they see the land which I swore by an oath to Abraham and Isaac and Jacob? For they did not follow after me. These people at that time that were afraid and didn't want to go in, except for Caleb and son of Ephoni, the one being parted, separated from the others, and Joshua, Jesus, the same name as Jesus, the son of Navi, for they followed after the law. So all the rest of them didn't. And it says, or Moses says, and the Lord was provoked to anger and rage over Israel. And he staggered them in the wilderness 40 years, until all the generation doing evil before the Lord was completely consumed. Behold, you rose up in place of your fathers, the ones that didn't want to go in, a confederation of men of sinners, to add still unto the rage of the anger of the Lord against Israel. You're doing the same thing. God's going to be in anger, and we'll never get to come in if people never want to, don't take it into their hands to do what God says. For you shall be turned away from him to add still to leave him in the wilderness, and act lawlessly against this entire congregation. More or less what they did in the first place, their fathers. And they came forward to him, that is, the sons of Reuben and Gad, and they said, properties for flocks we shall build here to our cattle, and cities for our chattel. All these things are here, we'll build them up. And we, arming ourselves, will be in advance guard in front of the sons of Israel until when we should lead them into their own place. So we'll leave all the families and build everything here, but the army will send in front of all the sons of Israel. They'll be the advanced guard attacking most dangerous place. And our belongings shall dwell in cities being walled. So they've come up with a scheme to bypass what God would really wanted, was them to go in and claim the land. I believe he wanted Reuben and Gad to go in and claim the land. But they come up with a different reason, and they go around and say that we'll do this and that and so forth. And in no way should we return into our dwellings until whenever the sons of Israel each should divide into his inheritance. It sounds good. They're all going to do all these things to make up for not going in. And no longer shall we be heir with them from the other side of the Jordan and beyond. That is, the other 10 tribes. I think the half tribe of Manasseh is in this also. And so we'll not take any of that land of them. They can have more land that way. For we receive our lots on the other side of the Jordan in eastwards. The kleros, a lot. A cleric is a religious person that's chosen by a lot. So we will receive our lots there. And Moses said to them, well, if you should do according to this thing, if you should completely arm before the Lord for war, and you yourselves all shall go over the Jordan armed with large shields before the Lord, until his enemy shall be obliterated from his face, and the land shall be dominated before the Lord, then after these things you shall return, and you will be innocent before the Lord from Israel. Now I question whether this decision was from God or it was from Moses, and I'll explain why here. And it says, and this land shall be to you for a possession before the Lord on the other side of the Jordan, eastwards where Jordan is today. But if you should not do so, you shall sin before the Lord, and you shall know your sin whenever bad things should overtake you. And thus you shall build to yourselves, to them, cities for your belongings and properties for your cattle, and the thing going forth from out of your mouth you shall do. And the sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad spoke to Moses, saying, your servants shall do as our master gives charge. Our belongings and our women and our possessions and all our cattle shall be there in the cities of Gilead, but your servants shall all go over, being armed and being arrayed before the Lord for war, in which manner the master says, the Kyrios, that's not Jehovah Kyrios here, is master. Could be a small L-O-R-D, but I use master. And Moses stood together with them, with Eleazar the priest and Joshua, son of Nun, and the rulers of the fathers, the Patreon, of the Philon, the tribes of the sons of Israel. And Moses said to them, if the sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad should pass over the Jordan with you, every one being armed for war before the Lord, and you shall dominate the land before you, then you shall give to them the land of Gilead for a possession. But if they should not pass over being armed with you for war before the Lord, then you shall cause them to pass over with their belongings, and you'll force them to do it, and their women and their cattle in front of you into the land of Canaan, and then they shall inherit together among you in the land of Canaan. If they don't do what they said, they will be forced to go across, and then they will be part of the division. And the sons of Reuben and the sons of Gad answered, saying, as much as the Lord says to his attendants, so we shall do. We will pass over, being armed before the Lord, into the land of Canaan, and you shall give our possession on the other side of the Jordan. Now, this shows me a little bit of problem. God's idea was to go in and take the land of Canaan, not to take the land on the eastern side of the Jordan. So I believe that even though they succeeded in doing this, taking these people as we see here as we go on, the idea that God had originally set up for them was to go in and take the land. But they bypassed God's perfect will and devised their own will, and God allowed them to do that, even though his perfect will was bypassed by these people. Now I look today, and that other side of the Jordan where those tribes were is all another country. It's the country of Jordan. And these people, the Reuben and Gad, all on the other side, they had a lot of problems with the people on that side rising up against them, and we'll get into that in the book of Judges, where these different kings of these different areas came against these people. And basically, the land over there was lost to the Jews as it is today. It's still not part of Israel. It sort of reminds me of something I did years ago. I think I mentioned it before. I wanted to go as a missionary up into Canada, and I could have driven up there, put everything in my car, went across the border as I did many times, and I had a house I had purchased up there in Victoria, BC, and I could have went up there and I could have started preaching and doing things, and maybe God would have blessed it, and maybe people would have heard the word of God, and so forth. But what actually happened, though, is when I went up there, I decided, well, I want to do it the right way. If God is in it, then he'll lead me to do it. I would really like to do that, but I'm going to do it the right way. So I took my Toyota truck and filled it with all the things I had, Bibles and a letter from a church I had gone to, or a mission that I was preaching in, and had money in the bank, and could show my bank account, and off I went. And I left my 88-year-old mother by herself, and thought about going up and doing this. Drove 1,000 miles, took the ferry across, went into uh, the immigration office, and they said, "What would you like to do?" And I said, "I'd like to immigrate into Canada as a missionary." And they said, "Well, how long do you want to stay here?" And I said, "Well, however long that the Lord would want." And they said, "Well, by saying that, you've shown that your intention is to possibly stay longer than the period of time that you're allowed. So we're going to deny you admission into Canada." And my father had fought from the Canadian Army in the First World War, and I had his discharge papers, and none of that mattered to them. They called the purser of the ferry boat. He came in, put a revolver on the table, signed me over to the man, and he said, "Well, get back on the ferry, you get a free ride back." And I got the ride back, and as I went back down to California, almost crying because I didn't get what I wanted, I got back, and my mother was there, and probably she didn't show any emotion one way or the other. But today, many, many years later, I look back and I see the hand of God in that God wanted me to take care of my mother, and I was doing the wrong thing. Even though my heart may have been wanting to tell people about Jesus, it wasn't what God wanted, and he put a stop to it, which was the right thing for me to do. I feel good about it. I believe God's hand was in that. But like I said, I could have done it the other way, and then I would have had the guilt of leaving my mother by herself and living with that for many years, and it could have destroyed any ministry that I would have ever had intentions of doing. By going back, the Lord allowed me to start studying the Greek scriptures and develop the Apostolic Bible. The Lord is good. So I just thought I would bring that up in case you have a way of going two directions. One is the Lord's direction, and the other is your direction, even though you think you're doing it for the Lord. And put out Gideon's fleece. We will get into Gideon's fleece in the book of Judges, but find out if it's of what God's true intention is. It continues, and Moses gave to them, to the sons of Gad, to the sons of Reuben, and here it says, in the half tribe of Manasseh, of the sons of Joseph, the kingdom of Sihon, the king of the Amorites. And that's over here. Amorites are right over in here. Jazer in these cities, and Dibon. And the kingdom of Og, king of Bashan, the land and the cities with its boundaries, the cities, land of the land round about. And the sons of Gad built Dibon and Ataroth in Aror, Shopan and Jazer, and they raised them up. So these were all here, Jazer and Heshbon, Jabaz, Dibon. All this area was built up for these tribes. And Beth Nimrah, let me do the Greek on these. Davon, Ataroth, Aroer, Sophar, Eazir, and they raised them up, and Vithiamram and Vitharan, fortified cities and properties of flocks, a lot of land around for the grazing of the animals. Now here, Provaton, flocks. Earlier, I think it was back in Exodus where I mentioned about the, maybe it was, I'm not sure where it was, but it was talking about the flocks being, they could be either sheep or goats. And basically, I used sheep in the other places, and here I have used flocks, and I get to the third edition, I'll have to decide whether I should change them all to flocks because it can include either a sheep or a goat. And the sons of Reuven built Heshbon and Elealeh and Kiriathaim and Navoth, the mountain area, and Velmeon, being surrounded, that is, with walls, and Sevamah. And they named by their names the names of the cities which they built. And a son of Machir, son of Manasseh, went into Gilead and took it and destroyed the Amorite dwelling in it. And Moses gave Gilead to Machir, son of Manasseh, and now he's not a direct son, he's of the tribe, and he dwelt there. And Iair, the son of Manasseh, went and took their properties and named them properties of Iair. And Navav went and took Kaath and her towns and named them Navoth from out of his name. So they have went and taken this land to the east of the Jordan. Chapter 33 next we'll get into a recount of all the stages of the places that the sons of Israel went. And I hope you'll join us and find out and go through all this and try to figure out where and how long and they were at all these places. Till the next time, and God bless.